Hey there, everyone. Welcome. As you can tell, we're not doing anything to do with a guitar today. We're actually down in my little studio, my little art studio here. And what I wanted to do with this first video, and don't tune out and go to another video or anything like that, because this is all information that you're going to need to know. But it's just going to be an informational type video, and then in the next day or two I'll be posting maybe 3 whenever I can and have time to record it. We're going to be doing this painting here. This is, you can see a wolf howling at the moon here, and this is on I think this is 11 by 14. We're actually going to do that on a 16 by 20 canvas. So I do have some stuff planned out for you, but what I wanted to do is really talk to those of you that maybe are interested in doing some artwork. You'd be amazed how many people I talk to and they say, well, no, I there's no way, I don't have any artistic ability, I could never do that. But they've never tried, they've never had anyone show them. And so what I'm going to try to do here is explain to you, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get started in painting, because in reality, if you've never painted, if you never picked up a brush and put paint on a canvas, who knows, you may try it and not like it. So there's no need in spending a ton of money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend just a few minutes here in this video and kind of walk you through what I think. And again, this is just my opinion. If you Google and all that kind of stuff, you're going to find opinions. You know that old saying, everybody has an opinion. But I'm just going to share with you mine. And listen, I'm not a professional artist. I have been privileged enough to sell some of my artwork, but I'm not a professional artist. I don't make my money. In fact, if you watch any of the guitar stuff, I don't make my living doing guitar stuff and playing music. Those are things that I enjoy, that I get to do, that as I have time around my job and my family and other things that I do. So I am a total hobby painter. I paint the things that I enjoy. I've put some of these kinds of things together so that we can get together, my wife and I, with the kids and do those kinds of things and just have fun doing it. What I'm going to do is just going to walk you through some things that you've never, from the standpoint of you've never done this before, but you've been to maybe a few paint parties, you've dabbled a little bit, and you're interested in kind of getting going. So here's what I'm going to do, kind of walk you through some of the things that I think you're going to need and that will be helpful to you, and try to maybe save you some money. I'm going to put some things down in the description in this video, so links to different websites, especially for like paintbrushes and those kinds of things, to just give you an idea that you don't have to spend a ton of money to do good paintings. So here we go. I'm just going to kick it off. I've got some notes over here to the side just so I don't ramble too much, because I'm guilty of that. But the first thing you're going to need is something to hold your canvas. And you can see here, I've, again, fortunate enough in my studio, I've got an H frame. There's all kinds. There's French easels, there's A-frame easels, there's all kinds of easels. This is just happens to be the one that I chose, and I'm just going to move this out of the way so you can see it. But it's an H frame, and so that's why it gets its shape, because it's shaped like an H. It's got some storage here where I can put different pencils and storage things, and usually I have paper towels in here and other things, and then my canvases will mount in here. Okay, so the canvas will mount. This adjusts pretty much any size I need it to. So that's my big easel, but you can get by. I've also brought this guy in. I've got several of these. We use them for the paint parties that we do. This is a tabletop easel, and this, a smaller version of course, but it will easily hold 11 by 4, 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 16 by 20, 18 by 24, This type easel will easily hold those size canvases. It's very sturdy. Unlock it here. I got it locked up, but it unfolds, and it's got a nice wide base there, and it's adjustable this way, and it's very sturdy once it's on the table. So you know, if you've been to any of the paint party things, which my wife and I actually, believe it or not, my wife and I go when we travel around, we find them and go to them, but they typically use those little A-frame tabletop easels, and they're really flimsy. If you've ever been to them, you push on it with your brush and they want to tip over and all that kind of stuff. This type of tabletop easel, and this particular one, came from Hobby Lobby, and I will tell you, this is about a $30 easel, tabletop easel, but if you use that Hobby Lobby 40% off coupon, it makes it a lot more affordable. The bigger one behind me, the bigger H-frame, I bought from Dick Blick, or if you have a Blick art store, Dick Blick, in your area, that's where this came from, and it was around $80 or $90. So a little more of an investment, but I love it here in the studio. So that covers easels. Let me talk about protecting you. You can see I'm not dressed to paint. I wouldn't paint anything like this. So we need to talk about aprons. This particular apron here is something that I purchased again for the things that we do here with the paint parties with the family and friends and stuff like that. And these you can get off of Amazon for $5 or $6. So they're really not expensive at all, and they will save your clothes, because if you're going to paint with acrylics, you get acrylics on your clothes, it's not coming off. Now, you can, for maybe about $15 or so, you can get one of these, and this is made out of denim, and it's just a little bigger, a little more durable. You can see this one is, of course, used. I'm in the habit of wiping my fingers and my brushes on my apron, so I started out many moons ago when I started painting. I think I started painting back in 2009 or so, and I've been drawing forever, but I started painting, I think, in 2008, 2009, somewhere in there, and I really tried to be neat about the whole thing, and now I just get paint everywhere. If I tried to paint without my apron on, I'd be wiping paint all over my clothes. So you're definitely going to want an apron. All right, let's talk about, and you're going to find, if you're watching YouTube videos or any other kind of videos, not just on YouTube, there's other resources, but you're going to find what I call paint snobs. They're going to tell you that, you need to spend a gazillion dollars on brushes, and listen, you can, but I've done lots and lots and lots of paintings with cheap paintbrushes, and you can do really good paintings with cheap paintbrushes. In fact, all of these paintings that I've done, I don't have expensive brushes. But let me just go through some of the things that I have. And again, I'm going to post some links down in the description so you can go to some of the websites and check them out. But you can go to Michael's or Hobby Lobby if you have either of those, and you can buy the sets. And I know I know you know what I'm talking about. You go and you buy these sets. It's in a big plastic front with a cardboard back, and it's like $7.95, and it's got a whole slew of brushes in it. That's where these came from. Seriously, these long-handled bristle brushes were in one pack. The long-handled nylon brushes were in another pack. Short-handled nylon brushes in another pack. And listen, I've used these. You can look at these, and you can seriously see I have used these over and over. In fact, this Master's Touch is the Hobby Lobby brand. This particular brush right here is one of my favorite. This big number 12 filbert brush is one of my favorite brushes to use, along with these big bristle brushes. These flat bristle brushes. I love these brushes, and they're just Masters. The cheap. I got them from Hobby Lobby in the $7.99 packs. If you use the 40% off coupon on $7.99, listen, it's affordable, right? You can get brushes, so you don't need to spend a ton of money on brushes to do good painting. hopefully I'll give you some instruction in the videos to come as we do some of these types of paintings that will help you down the road if you want to advance some techniques and all that. Now, another good resource for brushes. These are called chip, C-H-I-P, chip brushes, and they are natural bristle type brushes. And look, these are great for doing trees and all kinds of different effects with these. And if you have a Harbor Freight near you or any other kind, I'm assuming Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot, any of that, but I go to Harbor Freight because we have one close, and this 1-inch chip brush is 59 cents. So, and I use it all the time to do, because it's rough on the end and all of that, to dab in shapes for trees and stuff, and the bigger one as well. And listen, great brushes for painting, and they're inexpensive, less than $1 a piece. Now, I do have some favorites, and again, in the links below. I keep saying that. There's some sites that I'm going to link to. The Brush Guys is a great resource. Artistpaintbrush.com, I think, is another one of the sites. dickblick.com, of course. And let me just share with you some of the brushes that I've gotten from there and that I really like. Some of the brushes that are my favorites, and I do have favorites that I go to, but they're still not expensive brushes. This is a $2 brush, and it's made by a company called Dynasty. I love Dynasty brushes for acrylic painting. This is a Dynasty. It's a filbert brush. It's got that rounded tip on it. As we go through the videos, the brushes I use for the paintings, I'm going to list them out for you, so don't get caught up on all of this. I just want to give you an idea that you don't have to spend a ton of money. So this is a $2 brush, and I ordered it online from thebrushguys.com. These are also by Dynasty. They're black gold, and I ordered them from Dick Blick, and they're in the $3 to $4 range for those. Russell Simmons, they make Simply Simmons, I believe is the right pronunciation for those. But you can buy these sets at Hobby Lobby and use 40% off coupon, and you get a whole set. It comes with the round and the flat, and there were 2 or 3 other brushes, and there was like 5 brushes, and it was $14 or $20 or something, and I used a 40% off coupon for that. So again, and I'm a fan, and you'll hear me say this in the videos to come. I'm a fan of using the biggest brush possible to get the job done, and your paintings will look better if you use bigger brushes. And people struggle with that. My wife is one who struggles with that. But if you use big paint brushes, your paintings will look a lot looser and freer, and they'll look a lot better. So those are just a few. I love Dynasty brushes, and I just paint with them a lot. I picked up a couple of them somewhere, and I started painting with them, and I like them, and they're cheap. They're $2. And if you do a lot of scrubbing, it's that you do wear brushes out over time, but it takes a long time. This brush here is a script brush that I got from artistpaintbrush.com, and I'm looking at my notes over here if you're wondering what I'm looking at. But this is a number 4 script liner brush. It's a natural sable, and this is great for doing fine details. So if you're going to do in the foreground of a painting and you're going to pull up grasses, you can bring this to a super fine point, and it holds a lot of paint and goes to a really sharp point, and you can pull up grasses, you can do tree branches, anything where you require your signature, anything that requires a really super fine line. This brush is, and the natural sable brushes are a little more expensive. I think this was a $5 or $6 brush, somewhere in that range. So just when you get to that point, you can add as you go along. You don't have to invest a lot of money up front, is the point I'm trying to make. You can go to Hobby Lobby and buy a $5.99 or $7.99 pack of brushes, and you can do paintings like this all day long with those brushes, and they're going to look great. Another thing that you want to have around is don't throw away your old toothbrushes. You can we'll use, and we're going to use the toothbrush in this particular painting. That's how I put these stars on here. You can use a bristle brush if you like, but I like to use a toothbrush, and I'll show you that. You get a really soupy, watery mix with your paints and just sprinkle on the stars. So hang on to your old toothbrushes. So anyway, that's brushes, okay? And palette knives, if you get to the point where you want palette knives to mix with, or I do a lot of mixing mostly with brushes, with my brushes as I'm painting, but from time to time I'll use palette knives, and I just use these cheapy plastic palette knives. So there's, you can buy the metal ones with the fancy wooden handles and all, but again, we're talking about, listen, I don't have a lot of money, and $1 is $1. So if I can do something and get the job done and not have to spend a ton of money doing it, that's what I'm doing. So that covers brushes. If you want to do any sketching, I do from time to time do some sketching. I've got several paintings that I'm working on, and I will from time to time do sketch underneath. And what I use for that is either, this is a piece of soft vine charcoal, and soft vine charcoal, you can pick up a package of charcoal sticks, and they're about this long. I don't know if I have one. I do have one that's not broken. Here's a new one. So there's a new one that hasn't been used, and you can see that they break really easy. So if you drop them or whatever, they're going to break pretty easily. But you can sketch with this, and if you draw it, it wipes off with just a damp cloth, and all of that. You can paint over it. Doesn't mix in, all of that. And I'm going to show you how to do that, because when we go to sketch in the wolf in our next painting, we're going to use some of this charcoal. You can also use charcoal pencil, and that's really up to you. So you're talking, again, it's a $1 or $2 for a package of, I think $2 or something for a package of soft vine charcoal or charcoal pencils. Again, for a couple of charcoal pencils, you're talking a couple of bucks. So now from time to time I'll use a white pastel pencil. You could also use white charcoal, and again, a pencil is a $1 or $2, so you're not talking a great deal of money there. So that's for kind of sketching and all of that. What I want to talk about really is paint, because I think if there's one area where you need to get what you can afford, maybe spend an extra $1 or $2, it's on paint. Let me just give you some advice. If you buy cheap acrylic paint, you're going to have to use more paint and do more coats, and it's just not going to cover as well, and all of that, and you're going to end up spending as much, if not more, as if you'd just spend another $1 or $2 on a tube of paint. So let me give you, if you're just starting out, let me give you my number one recommendation for paint. It's Liquitex Basics. Liquitex Basics. It has a nice body to it. It's not what I would call a heavy body acrylic, but it does have a nice body to it. You don't have to use a lot of water like you do with a heavy body acrylic, and learn that balance of the moisture content and all of that. The more you paint, the more you'll learn about that kind of stuff. But Liquitex Basics, just a great product. I use it whenever I have somebody over to paint with me. So when we're doing any kind of a paint party, we use Liquitex Basics paints. And these paints, this size tube, it's a 4-ounce tube of paint. This particular one, I believe, is $4.99 per tube at Hobby Lobby, and I always try to plan this so I can use my 40% off, and if my wife goes with me, if I need multiple, she can buy one, I can buy one, use the 40% off from Hobby Lobby. So $4.99, $5 basically, and then you get 40% off. So they do also, and they also have some bigger tubes, which are $10, and they're 8.5 ounces, almost right at 8.5. It goes by milliliters, but 250 milliliters, which is roughly 8.5 ounces. And again, 40% off makes that a pretty good. That's a lot of paint for $6. and it's a great quality paint. So this is the paint that I'll be using when we do our Paint with Jim paintings. When we start in on this one, I'll be using the Liquitex Basics. So I say you just, for paints, if there's going to be an area where I'm a little more snobbish, I guess, it's going to be in the area of paints. I think you should buy the best paint that you can afford. You're going to get better results from your paintings. You can do good quality paintings with cheap brushes, but it's extremely difficult to do good paintings with cheap paints. So if you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy $1 per bottle craft paint, you're going to have a hard time getting good results with paint of that quality. Now there's a place for those. It's just not on a canvas. Okay, so that brings us. I often get asked about colors, and when we get into doing some of these paintings, I'm going to talk a little bit about colors, because again, you can go crazy. You go to the paint aisle, and each brand has 50 different colors. So what do you buy? Well, I'm a kind of a fan of mixing your colors. So I'm just a fan of starting simple. And again, I'm going to go through, as we do some of these paintings that we do, I'm going to have all the colors listed so you can paint along with me. So I think that's about all I have in the way of paints. Just buy what you can afford. And better to buy 2 or 3 tubes of a good quality paint and learn how to mix colors than to buy 15 tubes of cheap paint and not be happy with what you're putting on a canvas. Okay, so my little sermon about paints. That's it. All right, let's talk about canvases. So for what we're going to be doing, canvases that I buy come from this particular canvas. This is a 12 by 24 canvas. Excuse me, 12 by 24 canvas. This 2-pack came from Hobby Lobby, and I believe it's $5.99 or $7.99 or something like that for their 2-pack of canvases. And with the 40% off, and these canvases they end up being $240, $250 a piece for a canvas, and that's pretty affordable for a canvas. The deals to really watch for are more what I find at Michael's. This is actually a 5-pack of 16 by 20 canvases that came from Michael's, and I got this for $10. They were right before Christmas. They were doing a special. They had all of their multi-pack canvases, and as you go down in size, you get more canvases. So if you get 8 by 10 or 11 by 14 or 8 by 10, you get more. You get like 7 canvases or 10 canvases or something like that. And I use those quite a bit for practice. I've got a little bookcase over there that's full of canvases. I use them for practice. But this right here is great. And these are the canvases that I use for all of my Paint with Jim stuff. People come over, kids come over, some friends come over, and they're painting with Pam and I. And these are the canvases that we use. They're good quality. They're primed well. They're stretched pretty well. You'll have to wet them, the back of them. I'll show you that little trick too if you have one that's really loose. I know if you've been to these paint parties and they buy these bulk packs of canvases, they get really loose. Well, if you take and wet the back of them, they'll tighten back up and they're a little easier to paint on, in my opinion. There you go. That's it. You can go all over the place. There's all kinds of sizes and everything. Just walk into an art store, art supply store, and you'll see all kinds of sizes for canvas. You can make your own with acrylics. You can paint. You don't have to paint on canvas. You can paint on board. I think I've even got, where I thought I had, not finding them, canvas panels. It's basically canvas stretched over cardboard. You can paint on those. You can paint right on. I've painted on hardboard. You go to Lowe's or Menards, someplace, and buy a 1/8-inch 4x8 sheet of 1/8-inch hardboard, cut it up into 16 by 20 or 18 by 24 sections, and you're spending less than $10, and you're getting all of that stuff to paint on, and it's great. You just put some primer on it or some gesso. We'll talk more about that, but and then you can paint right over it with the acrylics and be fine with that. So again, you don't have to spend a lot of money to do this. That's my point in making this video. You need a few brushes, which again can be cheap brushes. You need a couple of tubes of paint, however you want to start out. And again, this is where I would, if you're going to spend any money at all, it would be in the area of paints. And if you're just starting out, I highly recommend Liquitex Basics paints. Those are great for just starting out. And you'll need something to paint on. You can even paint on paper. They make canvas pads of paper. I even have some of that I practice on from time to time. Another thing that I kind of forgot. Let me touch on that real quick. It's interesting. Styrofoam plates. It's great for putting down your paint, mixing your paint, all that kind of stuff. You can, if you need to step away for a little while, acrylics dry. You can't just leave them sitting out, but you can use a little spray bottle, spray the tops of the acrylics, get them nice and wet, slide this plate inside of a Ziploc bag, and those acrylics will stay good for several days if you need to step away from, because I typically don't finish a painting unless it's a painting like this. I typically don't finish a painting in one sitting. I have to come back again and again. And you can buy things like sealable palettes, which I have and all that, but they're pricey, number one, and they take up a lot of room because at least the one I have, it's 12 by 16. And so it takes up a lot of area and all of that. And I've just found myself more and more, I just use plate, these little paper plates and styrofoam plates, and they work great. And you can use it again and again and again. So, and then you'll need something to put some water in, because we need a little bit of water with acrylics. This is just a Tupperware type bowl that I snagged from the kitchen, I'm sure, and I use that. Again, this may be one of those ones that has the lid, what they call disposable, right? This is just a cup, just plastic cup, great putting water in and stuff like that. Spray bottles handy, all these little things. And as we do some of these other paintings, we'll kind of expand on some of the things that we use, and I'll expand on some of these other topics. But I just wanted to do this introductory video to, for those of you who may have no idea where to go. You want to try painting, you want to try to get your feet wet, as the saying goes, and do some painting and stuff. But where do you start? Again, it doesn't have to be anything major. You don't really even have to. When I started painting, I didn't have an easel. I didn't even have a tabletop easel. I painted on paper with acrylic paints and cheap brushes. That's how I started, and just kind of graduated, added a little bit here, a little bit there, and just kind of grew into what it is down here. Excuse me. And I love it. I love my art, and as I said, I also draw, and I do all of that stuff, and I'm fortunate enough to have this little studio area set up down here, and I want to thank you for joining me down here. And I've been wanting to do this, as you know, if you've watched any of the other videos, it's been guitar stuff, but I wanted to get this started with the painting thing. And so glad you spent this little bit of time with me. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, listen, drop a comment, send me a message, all those kinds of things, that ways to get in touch, I guess. But leave a comment down there if you have a question, and I'll answer it for you if I can. I don't know all there is to know, but I've painted for a little while, and I'll answer your questions if I can. So thanks for joining me in my studio today. The next time that we're here, we're going to do this painting here, the wolf howling at the moon, and I'm going to walk you through this step by step. And really, we're going to use 3 colors and just spend some time putting this together. It's going to be super fun, super easy, and you're going to learn a lot. So come back and join me for that. That's coming really, really soon. So Again, thanks for joining me here. I'll see you again soon on the channel.